Hi guys, so it's Luke here for SimBoxx. Delighted to be joined by WBO Super Welterweight Champion of the World, Natasha Jonas, Miss GB. Tasha, how are we doing?
I'm good. I'm all right. The dog's snoring, by the way. That's not me.
Yeah, yeah, no problem, no problem. Yes, always a pleasure to chat with you, Tasha. How's things recently? How's training going?
Yeah, I'm in the last hard week. So yeah, once Saturday I think so over, then it's all just like it's a bit more like it's a bit more faster, but it's a lot less intense. So yeah, it's been tough as you would expect. But yeah, I'm ready. I'm ready.
Yeah, so September 3rd, it's a big homecoming fight. You're taking on the Swede, Patricia Berghult. I was worried that I was going to murder that name, but Patricia Berghult, undefeated, 15-0. Just how much do we know of Patricia? It's undefeated, not really one that we know too much about over on these shows, apart from the win over Hannah Rankin. But I'm sure you and Joe, yourself, you've worked out a game plan for Patricia. So how much do we know of her?
I actually do remember it from the amateurs, if I'm honest. And Sweden as a team, they're very neat, tidy. They were always, good contenders. Um, when yeah, she's everything that you would expect of a Swedish boxer. She's tall. She's not she's not that much different to Hannah Rankin in stature, as in like height wise and physicality wise. Um, but yes, I think she's definitely for me a tougher and more skilled opponent, and that's not trying to be disrespectful. I just think that obviously she's beaten Hannah as well, so um, yeah, I just think she's better.
As I say, it's a homecoming fight beyond the undercard of Liam Smith at the Echo Arena. Just how much of a special moment is that going to be for you as a defending world champion? So you went on and won that world title the third time of trying. It was a momentous occasion, but now to be defending it in your home city of Liverpool and in a unification fight as well with the WBC title being on the line, a momentous occasion. And just how much does that mean to you?
Yeah, I think you can go all around the world boxing, and there's some places I've been that like I can cross them off, like your call. Some of the more English type ones. Obviously, I'd love to do a Vegas or an MSG, but for me, really, there's no place like home, and I had the option to be on other cards, and I wanted to be on the Liverpool one. I think it's a long time since I've boxed there, and I haven't boxed there ever as a champion, so it'd be nice to go back and I think at the moment we need something to smile about.
Yeah, absolutely. Touching on Berghult just a little bit more, and Hannah Rankin is a situation I'll mention in a second. But have you been back and watched that fight in the build up to the fight yourself, like when the victory for Patricia Berghult over Hannah Rankin back in 2019? Is that something you've went back and watched?
Yeah, I've watched a couple of fights. There isn't many to be honest, but I don't take too much into it. Like I think I'm a totally different boxer to Hannah. I'm obviously a southpaw, which is a huge difference, and we haven't got no footage of us against the southpaw. But like I say, I've watched it before, and yeah, I know a little bit about her anyway.
I think one of the interesting things that I found when I was researching for this interview, I was looking at Berghult's resume, and she's come through the weight similar to yourself. She started off down at featherweight, super featherweight, and she's kind of grew into the weight similar to you have. So do you think, with it being at super welterweight, you're the defending champion, that this is going to be a bit more of an even fight, if you like? Maybe that's the wrong term, but that you was going up in weight to win the title. Now you're kind of at an even playing field with Berghult.
Yeah, I don't think she's a naturally. She's not going to be like a 160 person boiling down. She's naturally probably about maybe 10 and a half stone. Probably. I don't know. I don't know that for a fact, but I think she's probably about that and building herself up like myself. So, yeah, I think it should be more Namas like because Namas weighed in light as well, which I think was a plus for me. So yeah, you haven't got that physicality to contend with, but obviously, like I said, she's a lot more. She's lighter on her feet. She's got better footwork, and she's had a good she's got a good amateur pedigree, got like a nice clean tidy style.
So with the Namas fight, again, it was a momentous occasion on the undercard of Calm Brook at the Manchester Arena. You went in there and you blasted her out in 2 rounds. Are we training for a knockout this time?
I'm never training for a knockout there. Like I do 10 hard 12 actually. hard rounds and sparring all the time with fresh partners in and out and everything. So I train for the full fight, like everybody does. But you know, if the opportunities comes, you just take it, and they're only ever there for a split second, so you've got to take them. But yeah, I train for the hard stuff. That's what it's for.
Absolutely. So we look forward to September 3rd. It's going to be a great night. Just a couple of other things I wanted to get your opinion on, Tasha. Yesterday we had the announcement from Matchroom that there's a big card in Nottingham on the undercard of that fight. The main event being Lee Wood against Mauricio Lara. On the undercard is Hannah Rankin against another old foe of yours in Terri Harper. Again, she's making the move up to super welterweight to take on Hannah Rankin. First, before we kind of break down that fight, can you take us through the situation with Hannah Rankin? Because for a long time, it did seem that was such an obvious fight, and a fight that was almost on the verge of being made, you know, multiple times. And we've spoke, you know, me and yourself previously about this. But again, why did that fight never actually come to fruition, given that it was so close on so many occasions to being almost announced?
I have no idea. I can only presume that Hannah got a better offer with Matchroom, and if that's the case, you know, good on her. So yeah, that's, you know, I think Steffi's outed some of the clauses in the contract, and I've seen today that Terri has put out some stuff on social media of them sparring, which is kind of a little bit naughty. But yeah, I don't know. I'm satisfied after everything that I spoke with Ben about, that he did his best to get that fight and more. And obviously it was down to, you know, for her as a business person, because you are a business, to choose the best option for you. Now, I remember doing that, and people were saying, oh, why is she going with, you know, Boxer and not going with Matchroom? They've got the best fights for her. But I had to make the best decision for me and my family, and that's what Hannah's done. So I can't complain about that. Obviously, it wasn't the best offer. Maybe she feels more confident that she can beat Terri. I don't know. That's just what it is. What it is. That's just boxing. You know, it is what it is.
You know, you mentioned there, and it wasn't something that I was going to bring up, but it brought it back to the forefront of my mind when you mentioned the little clip Terri put on Twitter today of her and Hannah Rankin sparring. I'm not sure how long ago that video was, but in that it did look favourable to Terri Harper, that she was getting the better of that sparring, and then Hannah Rankin kind of fired back saying that it was, you know, took out of context and whatnot. Knowing both those girls, you know, as well as you do, that seems a little bit out of character. Do you think that's just a way of driving up interest in this fight, given that they are kind of, you know, laid back, respectful characters naturally? You know, you're not really going to find too much by way of trash talk between Terri Harper and Hannah Rankin. Do you think that's just a way of building up the fight?
Potentially, I think. You know, I don't know how interactive Terri is on her socials. I know I've heard, obviously everyone hears rumours that she doesn't do it or whatever. So I don't know whether it's her, whether it's Steffi, whether it's a company. I don't know who or what it is. It is a little bit out of character. And sometimes when you do things like that, it puts extra pressure on you. And I think the last thing that she needs is extra pressure, because mentally, I don't think she's that strong. So, you know, if it is anybody else bar her, then it's probably the wrong thing to do for her, in my opinion. Because like I say, when you get the sparring's okay, there's no one there. There's no, your bigger gloves, you've got your head guard on and the pressure's off. You've got to do that on fight night when everyone's expecting you to do what you did in sparring. And, you know, and you've built yourself up to be this thing, because it is snippets. You see it jump from one thing to the other. So it's not the full round, or it's not the full spar. So, you know, I'm sure Hannah had her successes, which, you know, I don't know. It's not. It does seem very out of character, and I think Hannah's tried to respond as respectfully as possible, which I'd expect. But yeah, I just think it is a little bit naughty. I don't like, sparring isn't really anything or everything.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of back in with the Floyd Mayweather and McGregor fight, when those clips of Conor McGregor and Paulie Malignaggi came out. Yeah, that caused a lot of, you know, on a much smaller scale, of course, but that caused a lot of social media hype. So when you fought Terri Harper, not to go off too much of a tangent, but you've seen a lot of the trash talk or the back and forth was through the two teams, and Joe Gallagher, who's always going to defend himself, and Steffi Bull, who's always going to defend Terri Harper. So, like you say, maybe it took out of her hands.
Yeah, I think Joe did it for me in essence, because by the time the fight came, most people were talking about Joe and Steffi, and that meant the pressure was off me. But Steffi was talking about all these things Terri was going to do, and she didn't do. So that put the pressure on her. And that's where I think that's what I'm talking about the man management. Joe did it because everyone was saying it's your last chance, you take this. So the pressure was kind of on me to pull it out the bag. And Joe was like, right, Steffi, you're this. Right, Terri, you're this. And then everyone was talking about them and not me. And that took the pressure off me. So fight night, I just had to do what I had to do. But sometimes I think, it's just my opinion, but sometimes I think Steffi puts a lot of pressure on her. By saying things or doing things or even tweeting things, and you've got to be mentally strong enough to take them things. And she's coming back from a fragile state, and I don't think that's the right way to do it.
I think with female boxing, a lot's been made recently of rivalries that are developing. So you've got Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano, you've got Savannah Marshall and Clarissa Shields, bona fide, genuine rivalries. But then because of I guess the way the game's developing, there's other little rivalries now that are blossoming out of nowhere. And I think, the way the stars are aligning, it seemed a million miles off at one point, but the fight of the year you had with Terri Harper, that was a controversial draw. That now the way the stars are aligning, that it's going to come back to fruition, and it could be a lot of belts on the line in a huge fight and a rematch at super welterweight. If you win your fight, she defeats Hannah Rankin. What a fight that becomes.
Yeah. There's the options are there, and that's the whole point. I keep on moving weights and fighting at certain weights and dropping back down. I always have the intentions of dropping back down, if I'm honest, but the door isn't quite open for me to do that yet. But as soon as the opportunity happens, or whichever opportunity comes first, whether that's a rematch or whether that's a drop back down, whatever it is, I'll take that opportunity. I've shown before, I'm not scared to fight people. I'll fight whoever.
Just touching on that there and expanding a little bit. Saturday, the 3rd of September, that'll be your 15th fight as a professional. Of course, you had the amateur background as well, with a couple of breaks during your professional career, of course. 38 years of age, don't mean to call you out on that, but
yeah,
you still have a lot. It still seems like you have a lot in your mind that you want to achieve. There doesn't seem to be any kind of slowing down in thoughts of, retirement. We don't want to bring up the R word, but retirement, that doesn't seem to be any part of your mindset at this moment in time, which I think is quite fascinating.
Yeah, I don't think you can't have one foot in and one foot out of boxing. You have to be all in or all out. And I still feel like I've got a lot to give. I still feel that I've, more than physically, that I've mentally, I'm stronger and better. And that shows physically in my results, in whatever I do. So while I've still got that in me, and while my performances are still getting better, because I'm still improving. That sounds stupid, but that's the truth. So as that's happening, and I am developing and I am getting better, then I will, while it's still, going well for me, I will always keep pushing on. But, I also know that I'm not in that, young phase where I've got loads of time on my side, like Terri, or, like an Ellie Scottney or whoever. I do know that I'm further along. That's why I want these opportunities quickly, because I'm not going to be around forever. And soon I'll just be settling into my Sky job soon.
Absolutely. You do that fantastically well as well. You're saying there about, wanting to make the most of what you're hearing. Of course, it's a booming period for female boxing. And a week after your fight, 10th of September, arguably the biggest fight in the sport for female boxing, and one of the biggest fights in the boxing period. Yeah, both of them co-main event. But starting off with Clarissa Shields against Savannah Marshall, I'm sure it's a fight that we're going to speak about again closer to the time. But how excited are you for that fight? Both as a boxing fan and as a fellow British fighter with Savannah Marshall.
I think, the big fights as a kid that I remember is like your Tyson Holyfield, your Ben Eubank, your Ben Collins, your Eubank, all that, era. And the reason they were so big and momentous was because there was a big rivalry, and it wasn't a joke. They absolutely did not like each other. And that kind of kept it a little bit spicy, because, everyone's quite, everyone talks a lot, but no one really hates anyone. But they genuinely seem to not like each other, and I think that's happened here. And like you say, that you need that character to rivalries build, like the kind of legacy of the fight. You see that with Ali and Foreman, or whoever. So Leonard and Hagler, or Haynes and whoever. So it's them rivalries that you look back at and you think, wow, that was of time. And two great boxers in their prime at their peak, which we don't always get going at it. So what is there not to like about it? And I think there's no one going to be sitting on the fence. I think most Brits will want Savannah to win. I think most of the states will want Clarissa to win. And yeah, it's like pick a side and who, and some people's heart and their heads don't match. But yeah, I think it's a great fight, and it's a fight that a lot of people have been talking about for a long time. So the fact that Ben's managed to get it on and Sky have managed to put it on a platform is something that hasn't been done before. Is brilliant.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, that headlined an all-female fight card the first time in the UK. On the undercard, another brilliant fight, as you mentioned previously, Michaela Mayer against Alicia Bontgander. That's a headline fight in its own right. And then, like I say, a full supporting undercard full of female fighters. How proud of you of where the sport is, and the fact that somebody like Ben Shalom and working with Top Rank and other promoters, that they can put on this kind of card. And of course, it's going to be on free to wear. Sky Sports obviously got to pay for Sky Sports, but it's not pay per view. This very well could have been a pay per view event.
100%. I think the fact that it's not a pay per view event will hopefully bring more eyes to the sport that we want, that we need. And yeah, it's just doing things that we haven't done before. Obviously, we, after the back of the Serrano and Taylor fight, like, some of the argument was like, oh, it's not entertaining, or it's not this, and they can't fill out the stadium. Well, this is going to prove that we can. This is going to prove how good. We always knew as the athletes how good it was. We just needed the world to see it and the platform to be on. So, yeah, it's a good time. If you speak to Jane Couch and everything that she went through, or Christy, you watch the Christy Martin documentary, you think, wow, we've come a very long way, and we have, and we're progressing forward, and we're moving forward, and attitudes are changing, but we've still got a little bit of a way to go as well. But I'm happy with how it's going, the progression.
Yeah, absolutely. Was there ever a temptation to get onto Ben to be a part of that card, or was it always the plan to kind of get back to Liverpool and the Liam Smith bill?
Yeah, there was always the option, to be honest. I think it would have been more so if it was for Rankin, because that'd make more sense, two Brits as well. But yeah, now that it's a big unification card, I did want to favour boxing at home, if I'm honest. And I'll be at the fight comment on the commentary team anyway. So yeah, I wanted to be at box at home. So but that was always an option.
Again, I think we'll speak further down the line, closer to the fight nights, but I wouldn't be myself if I didn't push you for a prediction on the three big fights that we just mentioned there. So Rankin, Harper, Shields, Marshall, and Mayer and Bontgander.
I'm going to sit on the fence with all of them, and I'm going to say the Rankin fight depends on what Harper turns up.
Yeah, I think they're all intriguing in their own right, aren't they? For all different, three totally separate.
Terry's got the skill and the ability, and possibly the fitness to be able to outbox her and build up a lead. But Hannah's got the physicality, and I think the size, and I don't mean size as in, they are roughly the same height. I think the build, and that's what I'm saying about the physicality, to be able to, I don't think, as strong as she looks, I don't think Terry's got that woman's strength yet. So Hannah potentially has the ability to be able to get on close and make it ugly and make it hard and make it tough, exactly what I did, and just put your head on her chest and make her work for it. But like I said, Terry's got the skill and the know-how to be able to overcome that if she can fight her off and punch her off, which is going to be hard. So I'm still undecided about that. So I'll sit on the fence. Shields and Marshall, I think Sav, and I think either way it doesn't go the distance. And I'm not just saying that to think, I just don't think it goes the distance, and I don't see how Shields can knock it out, if I'm honest. So yeah, I'm going to go Sav KO late.
We look forward to it.
What I will say there is I do think Shields will be winning. I think she will build up rounds. But I just think eventually Sav will catch it, and that'll be it. Baumgardner and Mayer. So I remember when she was fighting Terri, and Mayer was saying Baumgardner can't punch, and I'd watch Baumgardner. I said to someone, one of the news people, she can punch. Like, don't listen to what Mayer says. She can punch, and then obviously she knocked it out, and it was a hard knockout. So Michaela Mayer has got the skills and ability again to be able to keep that long and just box her head off all day. She's got the the good pedigree. I think she's fought the better fighters, but I think there was moments in the Hamadouche fight where, Hamadouche is tiny, and she ended up in Bentham trades with her. And Michaela Mayer is about 5'8", 5'9". So she didn't need to be there. And I think if she gets into that type of fight with Baumgardner, then it's going to be dangerous. But she has the ability to just be able to keep it long, box smart, and comfortably win. But it's whether, you want to get caught in the hype and the moment, and you see her hurt and you go in for it and get caught yourself. So all that's a factor. But I think for that one, I just slightly favour Mayer.
Yeah, we look forward to it. It's a very exciting schedule, and it all starts September 3rd with your fight. So moving on from the boxing, before we wrap up, we can't not mention.
I know you're going to mention it. Go on.
No, I'm not even going to brag about Monday night. We'll keep that.
Okay.
I was going to give you an opportunity to celebrate again what was a momentous occasion over the summer with the women's Euro 2012 champions. A hugely proud moment for the nation, and particularly for yourself and the family, with Nikita Paris playing an integral role in the victory. Just how much of a special summer was that for yourself as a female sports star, and then obviously as a family member as well?
We only missed one game, but we on the final day, I was standing at Wembley at the top of the gate, ready to go into the gate to get into the ground, and I just looked over and seen the flocks and flocks of people, and I was like, wow, like I'm tingling now even talking about it. Then we got into the stadium, and just the atmosphere, the energy. I think sometimes when I go to match and like watch Liverpool, I'm not just talking about this season, but because there's so much emphasis on male football that it's dead serious, and it feels like sometimes the fun's taken out because it's so money driven and dominated and whatever. But at the games for the females, there was so much fun. Like the atmosphere, families were there. I'm not saying families don't go to the match, but it was like a good day out for everybody. And old people, young people, people that don't really go to footy games were there, and people that was just supporting women's sport were there, and it was just a brilliant day, and obviously topped off by getting on the pitch and winning. I went through so many emotions I went through more emotions on that day than I did when I won my title. So yeah, it was just brilliant, and not only that, just to see me little girl and me little niece who plays for Everton, just watching Keita and knowing that's where she came from. She started in the same place, started at the same football team, and look at what she's done and what she's achieved. But also it goes to show how, well, the WSL, and when you invest and put it on platforms, and it gets seen how supported women's sport can be when it's promoted the same. So yeah, it was just an amazing moment, and I think it was capitalized by them winning.
Yeah, absolutely. What a great occasion. I think interestingly, Nikita's now went and moved to Manchester United. How's that gone down with the family as a proud Scouse and a proud Liverpool? How's that gone down?
I mean, Everton, then City. Leon was okay, Arsenal was okay, and now United. It's like she's testing me. She's testing me. It's one shirt that the baby won't be getting, if I'm honest. She didn't get the City shirt either, and she didn't get the Everton one. but yeah, it's. I think she, to get more game time, be closer to home, and I think it's the best decision for her. So she wants to play there. Obviously we'll always support her. And yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't something that I actually picked up on until the game on Monday. For anyone that didn't realise, Man United beat Liverpool on Monday Night Football 2-1. It was a great result. But before kick-off, they had Nikita Paris and some of the teammates pitch side with Roy Keane, Gary Neville, Jamie Carragher. And, going back to your previous comment about if it's promoted the same, that they can be put on a level. And I think, even little things like that and putting them in front of the camera and in front of millions of supporters right before kickoff, it's little things like that are going to keep elevating the game, similar to how female boxing did on the undercard of bigger fights. And then now you've got yourself and another fight is headlining their own shows.
Yeah, visibility is key. I mean, it's sad, but a lot of people outside of probably women's football or women, or probably know Alex Scott for being on like a pundit and don't realise how good of a player that she was. But that's because she's seen. And now that the WSL is on and there's a lot more involvement and interaction with female sports, I think that it'll only grow, and this is a great place for it to start. After a big success like that, you've got to keep the momentum going and keep it pushing, like they did with rugby, like they did with cricket, like they do with netball, like they do with boxing. So once you've got that momentum, you've got to keep pushing it and testing.
Absolutely second that. Well, Tasha, it's always a pleasure chatting. I thank you for your time tonight, and I'm sure we'll come on Fight Week. I wish you the very best of luck for September 3rd, and we look forward to some bigger events later on in the year and into 2023.
Nice one. Thank you.
Yes, Tash.